The first time I came to Lisbon, I was carrying a backpack full of film, actual film, rolls of it, because that was how you shot in those days. And if you ran out somewhere while traveling, you were done until you found a camera shop. Lisbon in the 90s was a different city, rougher, less certain of itself. We were approached regularly by people who needed something, by people who wanted something that was ours. I kept my camera close and my bag closer, and I didn't walk anywhere after dark alone. I left that trip with complicated feelings about the city. I came back a few years ago and then again on this trip. And I want to tell you, whatever happened to Lisbon between then and now, something changed fundamentally. The city feels like it finally became what it's always had the potential to be. Bigger, more international, safer, in a way that lets you actually look up from the street and see it. I walked alone at night with my camera. That felt like its own kind of arrival. Lisbon is built on 7 hills. That's not a metaphor. That's a daily physical reality for anyone walking it. The streets go up steeply, then down steeply, then up again, in ways that make you genuinely grateful for the trams. The yellow trams are one of the most iconic images in all of Portugal. They're also one of the hardest things to shoot. The mistake most people make with the Lisbon trams is chasing them. You can't outrun a tram on a hill. What works instead is finding a corner where the tram has to slow down, a curve, a tight intersection, and pre-focusing on the exact spot before it arrives. Set up your exposure for the light. Lock your focus on the pavement where the tram will be and wait. When it comes through, you have 1 clean second to get the frame. That 1 second is everything. The preparation before is what makes it possible. The bones of Lisbon's history are visible everywhere you look. The triumphal arch on Rua Augusta, framing the view down to the river. St. George's Castle sitting above the city on the highest hill and along the main boulevard. The Hotel Avenida Palace, Belle Epoque architecture that catches the eye even from the street, in a city that's been rebuilt more than once from the ground up. Lisbon was largely destroyed by an earthquake in 1755. What you see today is a city that chose to rebuild itself with intention. Wide boulevards, organized grids in the lower city, a deliberate beauty you wouldn't associate with a disaster unless you knew the history. Knowing the history makes it more beautiful, not less. The Alfama district is the oldest neighborhood in Lisbon. It survived the 1755 earthquake because it sits on a solid bedrock while the rest of the city didn't. Narrow alleyways, steep staircases, buildings so close to each other that the residents string laundry between windows across the gap of sky above the street. A neighborhood this narrow doesn't give you room to back up, so you have to find your composition differently. This is where high, low, near, far earns its keep. Shoot up against the sky. Shoot down, get close to a doorway. Shoot from across the street. 4 completely different images just by changing where you stand. The narrow streets also throw hard shadows against warm stone, and that contrast is the whole personality of the place. Beauty lives in soft shadows. Character lives in contrast. Alfama has plenty of both. Fado music was born in neighborhoods like this one. The word fado means fate in Portuguese. It's music built around longing, for something lost, something that never quite arrived, for the particular ache of loving a place that has always been at the edge of the world. I didn't hear Fado performed live on this trip, but walking at night with the sound of the city coming through the open windows, I understood instinctively what the music is about. Some places carry their emotion on the air itself. That's what I heard.
Nomes riscados na madeira que ninguém chama as mãos vazias.
The Elevador restaurant, named for its view, was where we had dinner outside on the cobblestone, right across from the Santa Justa lift, a Gothic revival iron elevator built in 1902 that connects the lower city to the upper neighborhoods. It's one of those structures that looks like it belongs in a different century entirely and fits Lisbon perfectly because of that. I stayed at the Hotel Trams, easy walking distance to most everything, and the rooftop bar that pours a genuinely great sangria. I had sangria in a handful of spots around the city, red and white both, and every version tasted a little different. That seems to be the rule with sangria here. Nobody makes it quite the same way twice, and it's always just right. The fantastic world of Portuguese sardines is one of those shops that stops you on the street before you fully understand what you're looking at. I felt like it was something out of Willy Wonka, with the colors and the designs. Floor-to-ceiling sardine cans, every color, every variety, illustrated labels that look like small works of art. The tins are organized by year, like a wine, vintage. You can buy the year you were born. I stood in front of those tins for a long time, not because I needed sardines, but because of the visual of it. The colors, the patterns, the sheer abundance of something so ordinary made extraordinary by curation. It's exactly the kind of thing I travel with a camera to find. Belém sits at the edge of the Tagus, where the river meets the sea, or close enough that you understand why the explorers left from here. The Belém Tower stands in the water. The Hieronymus Monastery, its stone carving so intricate it looks like it was grown rather than built. The detail in the stone is extraordinary. Twisted ropes, coral, spheres, all carved in limestone, gone gold with age. Down by the water, the harbor-facing plaza opens up. The statue at the center framing the whole scene. It's the kind of square that makes you stop walking and just look for a minute. And then there's the pastel de nata, Pastéis de Belém, the original. The one that's been making these Portuguese sugary treats since 1837 from a recipe that's never been written down and never left the building. The line was outside the door when we arrived. It moves fast and it's worth every minute of it. I understand now why people make special trips to Lisbon just for this pastry. We were in Lisbon during the Festa de Santo António, both times I visited. Lisbon's biggest annual street festival. Every June the city turns itself inside out. Grilled sardines, paper decorations, music coming from every direction. The crowds growing as the night deepens. It's chaotic and loud and completely alive in a way that's hard to photograph and impossible to forget. This was near the end of my trip, and because I was working, I was tired. I wanted to enjoy some downtime from looking through the viewfinder of my camera. Some things are better experienced that way anyways. I enjoyed watching everyone have so much fun as I walked back to the hotel. This is a city that knows how to celebrate being alive. After everything it's survived, the earthquake, the centuries of rebuilding, the waves of change washing through it, Lisbon still knows how to throw a party. I found that genuinely moving. The Pena Palace is one of those places that doesn't look real from a distance. Vivid yellow and red and terracotta towers rising above the tree line. The Romanticism royal palace built in the mid-1800s on the ruins of a monastery. Every turret a different shape, every facade a different color. The whole thing sitting high above the forest like something from a story. The challenge of photographing the Pena Palace is that it gives you so much color. The temptation is to include everything, every angle, every facade, all the drama all at once. What works better is isolating specific color relationships. The yellow tower against the blue of the sky behind it. The red dome against the sky. The single window framed by the stone arch around it. Break the palace into parts, and each part becomes a stronger image than the whole thing. The interior carries the same eclectic drama as the outside, just turned up a notch. The Moorish-style stucco patterns painted with such skill that parts of the wall look three-dimensional when they're actually flat. A king who appreciated art. Walking through those rooms, I kept thinking about how much personality got poured into a building most people only photograph from the outside. The road up to the palace is 2 lanes. The traffic during peak season backs up in a way that tests your patience significantly. We sat in that line longer than I wanted, but here's what I'll say about that. The time sitting in traffic gave me a chance to look at the hillside, the way the forest climbed the slope, the palace appearing and disappearing between the trees as we moved slowly upwards. Sometimes the approach to a beautiful place is part of the experience, even when the approach involves a lot of sitting still in a very slow line of cars. From the top, the Atlantic is visible on the horizon. The forest spreads in every direction below. The palace sits above all of it, like it was always supposed to be exactly there. I stood up there admiring the view, daydreaming about the past. This whole trip I've spent standing somewhere beautiful for longer than I planned. I think that's the right way to travel and the right way to make photographs. 7 videos, 7 weeks, 1 long road through some of the oldest, most beautiful places I've ever pointed a camera. I want to tell you what I'm taking home from all of this. Not the images. The images are already made. It's what's underneath the images. The lesson that kept showing up in different forms no matter where I was. In Burgos, I learned that detail tells more truth than scale. In La Rioja, that the direction of light matters more than the time of day. In San Sebastian, that cities have personalities and your job as an artist is to read them before you try to photograph them. In Cudillero, that some moments aren't content, they're just yours. In Santiago, that arrival means something even when you didn't walk to get there. In Porto, that honesty about a place is more interesting than flattery. In Avidos, that color isn't decoration, it's structure. And in Lisbon, this city that I've come back to across 30 years and found different every time, I learned that the places that change are usually the ones worth returning to. Because they're all changing, for the same reason you are. They're still becoming something. When you're working on a long project, a series of images, a body of work, anything that unfolds over time, the closing image carries a responsibility that others don't. It needs to answer something, not explain everything. Just answer the question the first image quietly asked. My first image in this series was light on ancient stone, asking what it meant to see something that had outlasted everything around it. My closing image is Lisbon, the city going gold above the Tagus. Still here, still becoming. That feels like an answer. That's true for you too. Wherever you're pointing a camera, your backyard, the same 5 blocks you've walked past 1,000 times, the question was never whether it's exotic enough. It's whether you paid attention. This series works exactly the same 8,000 miles from home as it does in your own driveway. Stay ready. That's all. Just stay ready. you for spending 7 weeks traveling through Spain and Portugal with me. If you've been here since video 1, I see you, and that means something. If you want to explore any of these places yourself, I have tour options for Lisbon and Sintra linked in the description below through my travel partner. My free guide, Stop Shooting, Start Seeing, is also there. Use the code SpainVision in all caps at checkout and it's yours for free. If something in this video stayed with you, leave a comment. I read every one. Thank you for being here. Go find the light in your corner of the world, and I'll see you next Friday with a new series.